Great news! There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
We're pleased to be joined by my good pal. He does an outstanding job over on SNY as one of the Mets analysts, and he is the great Nelson Figueroa. Figgy, how we doing?
I'm doing well, brother. What's going on?
I'm doing good. Thanks for giving me a couple of minutes on your hard-earned day off. Let me ask you a question, though, because I was talking about this with the weather and the bad conditions we have out there. You pitched for a long time. How much of a grace period and just how difficult is it trying to grip the baseball and do what you want to do with it when the weather is as bad as it is out here?
I mean, any high school player can tell you how difficult it is. I mean, growing up in New York and, playing at Lincoln High School, it was the same kind of thing where you did struggle with a grip. You blow on your hands all you can. There's no moisture. You don't get a good feel for some of your breaking pitches. It's kind of that 1 month, or you hope it's not a full month, but early in the season especially, you can understand it. These guys are professionals, though, and they've dealt with it in the past. This isn't their first time pitching in cold weather, and you try and make the best of it, and there's ways. I think I did a little piece early on at SNY showing the illegal substances that you can use. There's perfectly legal things that you could do to get a better grip on the ball. But having said that, from pitch to pitch, it could go on you. We saw that with DeGrom yesterday. You've heard pretty much every starter say, I didn't have my full arsenal and I didn't have a good feel for pitches, and sometimes it takes a while. I don't think it'll last very long. These guys are too good and too talented, and I think what the encouraging thing is they were still able to pitch very effectively, even though they didn't have their best stuff.
All right, let's get into the Mets here and off to the 5-1 start. And, of course, yesterday's game is what stands out to you, going down to D.C. and winning the game in the manner in which they did. Let's say that it continues on and they have themselves a nice weekend in D.C. against that team. Is it too early to exaggerate just how big of a statement they could make by having a good weekend down in the nation's capital?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to go ahead and even if they sweep the Nationals right now, go on and say, they're going to lose 6 games all year. So I think you have to have a reality check. Everything's clicking right now. It's really nice to see. It's not just been lip service that the team has bought in to a lot of the philosophies that Mickey has, come into town with. I think, in the beginning, people were leery about, how could he handle this team, a lot of veterans, and, would they, you have to get the respect of the clubhouse. And I think he earned that very early in spring training, doing things his own way, not doing the cookie-cutter type of way that, guys have been doing for 100 years. Managers come in, they give you the 2 rules of be on time and be accountable. That's usually it. Play hard. That might be the 3rd one that they give you. But Mickey has really, I think, like they said, a culture change has happened, and these guys have bought in. You brought in some good veteran guys who, some people think are past their prime and they're not good fits, and they could spend a lot more money to get a lot younger player, but you need those kind of veteran presence around to help change that culture, and as of right now, it looks like it's been a really nice signing of Mickey Callaway for the Mets.
No doubt, and one thing that we've noticed early on, Fig, is that, he really wants to make sure he gets guys in there. He's not going to let guys get into a rut to where they don't go, or they go, for example, 4 or 5 days in a row without playing. He likes to mix and match and get his guys in the lineup, and we saw that yesterday even with Reyes getting the start at short over Rosario, who played well the game before, and he wants to make sure that Flores plays, and he's going to have to find some time for Nimmo. Do you think that that's good for a club this early on in the season?
Well, this early on, yes, because, down in spring training, you're not even playing full games. Even towards the end, you're still trying to get acclimated, and especially with the cold weather. A guy sitting on the bench in the cold weather isn't really going to be as effective, for a few days, just getting used to sitting there and dealing with the elements. I think I really like the fact that he's playing everybody, letting everybody kind of, get into the flow of things, and it's really worked out. It's been fortunate. It's funny because you talk about Gabe Kapler and how poorly he's done with every decision he's made thus far in Philadelphia, questionable decisions by Boone over in Bronx, and then all of a sudden you look at Mickey Callaway and it seems like all the buttons that he's pushed thus far have really turned out to be the right ones.
How about DeGrom? I mean, that was a vintage performance by him yesterday, battling through, getting out of that jam in the sixth inning there, really keeping the game at bay. And, we've seen this from him time and time again. And I always felt, Syndergaard may be the flashier of the two, and you can throw the ball 100 miles an hour. But, you really can't look at DeGrom anything less than being also like a co-ace, if not the ace of this team in a big spot, right?
I think he's earned the title of ace, and the ace doesn't necessarily have to be the guy who's the hardest thrower or the flashiest pitcher. I think that's usually the veteran guy who's done it the longest. He's the guy that you have the most confidence in, that you want on the mound, and that DeGrom has all those qualities. If he doesn't have his best out pitch, he has 2-3 other pitches he can go to until he gets a feel of that out pitch. And we've seen him be able to turn it on mid-game where all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, here it is. He's got his mechanics down, he clicks. But there's never been a time where DeGrom has been just lost out there to the point that you're like, man, this guy doesn't have it. I mean, even a guy like Santana, he was making all the money in the world, he would have a game where he would bomb and get hit around and give up 9 runs. But then the next 3-4 starts, he'd show you why he's an ace and why he's the guy that should be on the hill, that you feel like should be on the hill more times than not.
Last question here, Fig. The bullpen. How surprised are you about what some of these guys have done thus far, and do you think it's sustainable?
I wouldn't say surprised. I think, and it's funny because Mickey came in and the first thing he said was how this collection of arms is the greatest group he's ever seen. And that, we all kind of laughed about it because he just came from Cleveland where you had 3 guys finish in the top 10 in Cy Young voting. It's very hard to wrap your head around that. And then all of a sudden you realize that, he has seen enough arms and he gave compliments out. And maybe it was, maybe putting it a little lofty, but I think it made the guys feel that, this guy has seen the Klubers of the world, the Andrew Millers of the world, and he thinks we're on par with that, if not better. So I think they have bought in a major way. He and Island have made a lot of adjustments, mechanical adjustments early on in spring training, and they've gotten the trust of the staff to, maybe it doesn't work out in the first 2 games of spring training, but keep working on it. It'll be better for you. A guy like Hansel Robles, who they literally told him, you can go down to the minor leagues and strike out 28 batters in a row, and if you're not doing what we ask you to do, you're not going to be the guy we call up. And so Hansel went down there to work on really focusing on his timing and his delivery and not being that quick pitch guy and all the gimmicks. So I think that's what I have seen. I have seen less gimmicks, less, flair, less of the superheroes, and all that stuff, but actual pitching and great pitching using their fastballs like they did in spring training, and then being able to expand the strike zone and pitch outside the strike zone to get the strikeouts. And it's been, a historic run thus far, the most strikeouts through the first 6 games of a season for the New York Mets, and I think that has a lot to do with what they did in spring training. They carried it north.
Yeah, 13 innings in a row here without surrendering an earned run. It'll be interesting to see how long they can keep this going. Figgy, thanks for a couple of minutes, my friend. Go enjoy the rest of the day off, and we'll catch up soon.
Anytime, brother. You got it.
All right, Nelson Figueroa, outstanding job, of course, always by him on